Elastic and inelastic. So there is inelastic supply, there's inelastic demand, there's elastic supply and elastic demand. You're not going to be tested on this except for you're going to have to know briefly just what the graphs look like, and you might need them for like our tax examples and things like that. So inelastic demand means that no matter what the price, people are going to pay for it. It's typically inelastic demand are necessities. They're things that you must have. So they could be cigarettes, they could be alcohol, which is kind of strange, but they could also be toilet paper, paper towel, toothpaste. But no matter what the price is, people will still buy them. So it's a very steep curve. So this is inelastic demand. Now, elastic demand is typically a luxury good. It's something that there are substitutes for. And you basically, if there's a higher price, you will buy something else. So a small change in price will have a big change in quantity demanded. Here, you might have a large change in price and a very little change in quantity demanded. So an elastic demand is very flat. Inelastic is very steep. And basically, this is your necessities. This is your luxuries. Could be cars, could be TVs. It could be anything sold at market day. So that is for demand. Now, up here on supply, it is pretty much how you make it. So like inelastic supply, you have a very steep graph. Again, inelastic is very steep. This is very steep. So no matter what the price is, the quantity doesn't change that much. So think about automobiles. You might get a higher price for an automobile, but it's hard to actually increase the production of it. It might take 3 years to build a plant. It might take time to ramp up. So typically things with high manufacturing costs, high overhead costs, high costs for inelastic supply, they wanted basically make more, they just can't. Now, elastic supply is flatter. So if you have a small change in price, there'll be a large change in quantity. So this could be t-shirts, it could be buttons, it could be things that you make at market day. Typically it's clothing, but if you get a higher price, you can make a lot more of them. Then you can make a lot more of those items. So typically it's less overhead, less technology, things like the automobile or motorcycles or things like that. So elastic is always flatter for both. Inelastic is always steeper. And we always look at that. And there are formulas, there's numbers, there's coefficients. Like if you change, the price $1 for elastic supplied, the quantity supplied will go above, $1.25, $1.50, or in quantity higher. So we're not going to get into numbers like that. We don't need to. But I just want you to know that elastic is very flat, inelastic is very steep, and then note when you have them, the characteristics. Inelastic demand is necessities. There's no substitutes. Elastic demand, there are substitutes. It's a luxury item. Typically, there's a larger income ratio to cost of the goods, so it's a larger ticket items. And then with inelastic supply and elastic supply is how quick and how easy can you actually produce more of them. Even though the price goes up, can you increase production? Is there a lot of overhead? Is there a lot of costs? Is there a lot of manufacturing part to it? Or can you do it fairly easily? If you have any questions, feel free to ask about this. Remember, it's pretty much what we're going to just be using for taxes and for certain things on this. We're not going to be testing great. And even on the homework part, I don't want you to answer the questions on that.